McLove, You're My Heart's Purpose. Redirection. A one-shot story written by Miss Honeyhearts.
Her POV. It all started here at McDonald's. Sunny noontime after class, my classmates and friends went on a hangout in our favorite bonding spot, McDonald's fast food chain. As usual, we got our food to fill our craving tummies. My friends ordered fries and burgers while I was always cool and contented chillin' with my all-time favorite Coke McFloat.
Semestral break's approaching.
One of my friends, Ellie, exclaimed excitedly. Exactly. 2 weeks to go, and finally we gotta have our sem break. We've longed to rest, even just for a week from tiring, busy days at school.
Lineth, look, there's a guy from the other table looking at you.
Savannah, sitting next to me, grinned as she put her arm on my shoulder and teased me, pointing to a man from behind us who was, according to her, caught looking at me. Curiously, I turned around my head to see if it was true, and from there, I saw the man from the other table quietly looking in my direction. One thing I first noticed about this guy was the fact he had soft almond eyes, which I considered so beautiful. He had a pointed nose and bow-shaped lips with a messy waves hairstyle. He was wearing a simple white V-neck shirt and jeans. His body type was an average tone and tall. It seemed like he was enjoying his yummy McChicken sandwich. I gave him a genuine smile. I mean, why not? He was looking in my direction, so maybe I could conclude he wanted to make friends. Not so sure, though. He smiled back, and then I saw how his friends, other handsome males, grinned, smiled, and elbowed him gently as they teased him as if they were celebrating something or had won a lottery. They jokingly tapped his hair like telling the kiddo did a great job. I shook my head softly as I stopped looking his way and took a sip of my drink. Chillin'.
He's cute. You liked him?
Savannah asked, still not leaving me alone, as if she wanted to make a cupid for that man from the other table and me. The only response she got from me was a simple chuckle.
Lineth.
She laughed and anticipated getting an honest answer from me. The next time I saw that man was in a place I wasn't so expecting to see him there, and the role he played. I rushed to my religion class when I knew I was already a few minutes late. When I arrived at the door of the classroom where classes were going on already, I was surprised to see some young men standing in front of my classmates and beside our religion teacher. One of them was speaking words of theology.
God has always supplied the church with faithful Christians who serve as a rich example of a truly biblical missional theology. What is missional theology in the biblical sense? The word mission comes from the Latin noun mission, which means sending or commissioning. If someone has a mission, it means they are going from here to there for a purpose on behalf of someone.
It was him! I couldn't go wrong. I could remember clearly that he was the man I smiled at that sunny day we were in the famous fast food chain. Like his fellow, he was wearing black long-sleeve polo with a clerical collar tucked in their slacks, and their feet were wearing leather shoes. They all looked good, especially him. He noticed me and looked in my direction as I quietly walked to my seat and sat down. He smiled at me in the middle of his words, and I smiled back. Seeing him again after that one non-contact encounter in McDo was just unexpected, most especially seeing him at our school, wearing that priest-like uniform, or at least a preparation, maybe, to become one, and him giving speeches about God in my religion class. After religion class was over, we had the chance to talk to each other finally. He was Brother Hariel. Before ending the session earlier, they were once again introduced to us by our teacher and one by their names. Lastly, each of them thanked our class for listening to their lectures and words of the day. Hariel's his name, with the salutation of brother before his first name. "So, you're a priest?" I asked him while we were walking in the corridor. He smiled lightly. His hands were placed and relaxed at his back.
Priest? Not yet, but yeah, currently in the process of it. Soon to be. Right now, I'm still a seminarian.
I nodded gently inside. Seminarian.
How about you? What's your name? I didn't expect to see you as one of the students in this university.
He honestly stated. I'm Lineth.
Nice meeting you, Lineth.
Thanks. Nice meeting you too, brother. After that day, I already knew where I could see and find him the next time I wanted to see him, and I was never wrong. Brother Hariel, I called him. Not only he, but his fellow missionaries turned around to see me as soon they heard me calling one of their members. He was so surprised to see me approaching him. They were actually in the line formation just at the open door of the Catholic Church in our state, preparing themselves for the Mass to start in the next several minutes. Boys started to tease him, elbowing him, and tapping his shoulders as if they were all matchmaking him to a girl approaching him, me. He chuckled at their every banter.
Lineth, you're here. You surprise me.
he said joyously when he walked near me.
You two can make a good couple.
Yelled one of his fellows,
Harriel, you're so handsome, dude.
followed by the other.
Thanks, Angelo.
He sarcastically responded to one with a sneering grin for his brothers.
Brother Harriel, she's made a good catch for you, huh? Beautiful, classy, innocent.
He shook his head in shame for his fellows for teasing us together.
I'm sorry for their straightforwardness. Sometimes they just really like to joke around, especially when there's a girl.
I was chuckling as I shook my head. No pressure, and of course, I knew how to ride on with boys' jokes. It's okay. I don't mind. They're actually cool, and I love them already. He made a face like it was the weirdest thing he had heard today.
Really? You do?
Yes, of course.
Thanks, pretty.
One of them heard my kind appreciation for them and thanked me. I was still half laughing, brought by my amazement to boys' playfulness, when Harriel decided to take me to one of the benches outside the church. You're going to have your words for the next mass? I asked casually. He nodded lightly.
It's my turn to speak for the mass later.
You really love your vocation, huh? He agreed.
I love it. This is what I have wanted to do and visualize doing since I was a child. I want to spend the rest of my life serving the church and the Almighty.
I felt a little sting struck in my chest for a bare reason I couldn't name. Or maybe I refused to name and admit to myself. I suddenly remembered the food I had bought before going into this place, held the paper bag in my hand, and took the McChicken sandwich I bought especially for him. This was the food I could never forget he was eating the first time I saw him in McDonald's. Therefore, I concluded this is his all-time favorite one. I handed it to him, and he was gratefully touched.
You really bought this for me?
I nodded. Yes. I thought it was your favorite snack since this was the food I saw you eating the first time I saw you in the fast food.
Well, you thought it just right. It's my forever favorite. Thank you, Lineth.
I was happy watching him remove its paper and take a bite of the delicious, juicy sandwich. He even closed his eyes as if imagining the food taking him to paradise because of its goodness and obvious yumminess. He was such a cutie. You loved it so much, don't you? I asked him while slightly laughing. He was like a little boy who was granted his long-prayed-for candy.
Yeah, absolutely.
The mass went on, and while in my seat listening to the first reading, my eyes were focused on Brother Harriel, as he was one of the seminarians assisting behind the priest. He wasn't looking at me. There were only a few times I caught him glancing my way, but after that, he didn't dare to any more look at where I was sitting. Basically speaking, I was lending my ears to the Mass's readings, but my attention was all the time stayed on one of the seminarians standing at the altar, to Harriel. When it was his turn to give sermons, just like the other church attendees, I listened to his words attentively, and it was the second time I remembered that I was impressed by his words and public speaking skills, as he could really get the attention of the people around him to listen to him and absorb what he was saying.
John commands us to love one another because God is love. If God can give us the best of all that he possesses as his sign of love, we too, as his children, do the same thing and shine in our love by giving generously to all in need. He tells us that whoever does not love does not have God, for God is love. If we claim to be of God but do not have love, we do not have God. Imagine what love can do to some people, how love can change the mind and hearts of some certain individuals.
Looking at him and listening to how well he speaks in front of so many people who might need God's words passed through him to spread, a realization hit me. He is meant for the church, and to be the Lord's servant I couldn't and should not compete for. I glanced at the people who were so eager to learn a lot from his words. This is his vocation, his calling, to spread the word of the Lord. And who am I to stop him from doing what he loves?
Love is such a powerful and divine emotion one individual can experience.
He continued and glimpsed at me. He smiled at me. I responded with a smile and nod. I'm happy for him, and that he knows what he wants to do with his life. I will support and cheer for him, even if I have to do it from a distance. Love is not always about fighting. Even though his words weren't done yet, I already decided to stand up and quietly turn my back as I walked to the door. It was never my intention to take him away from his calling. I respect him and his life's choice. Love is not always about fighting. Love sometimes means walking away. When I was already at the door, ready to take a step to get away, I turned around to look at Brother Harriel for the last time. His eyes were fixed on me. He was still speaking for the general, but his eyes were focused on mine. I didn't bother when I felt the gentle air come to me, and some strands of my hair played to my cheek. I smiled at him for the last time that I would want to see him, because after this, I planned to move on from my silent heartbreak. After that, I walked and never turned my back ever again. A year later.
Happy graduation!
Congratulations, we've made it. We were so happy, and my friends chose McDonald's fast food as the venue where to eat and celebrate after attending our graduation ceremony. Yes, I graduated and got that 4-year communication course diploma. Hard work paid off. Dancing and having fun, that's all we wanted to do that night. Until one of my classmates and closest friends went to me, Savannah.
Hey, Lineth, somebody asked me to give you this.
She said, and handed me Coke McFloat. Though wondering who it was from, I held it and read the note attached to the cup. Congrats! I'm so happy for you, Lineth. When Savannah was about to join our other classmates, I held her arm, which made her stop and look at me for a while. Who asked you to give this to me, Savannah?
Who else could it be? It was from that cute man sitting at the other table. Look.
She even pointed them, and from there my heart literally skipped a beat. The man sitting at the table Savannah pointed to was no other than Hariel himself. He softly waved his hand to me and smiled. How I missed that handsomest smile I've ever seen in my life. I was so surprised, enjoyed, and feeling overwhelmed, not only of graduating and the price of it, but also because of the very unexpected guest I never thought could come today. He stood up and walked, cutting our distance. 2 things I noticed after a year of not having been able to see him. He now no longer wears his usual clerical collar, but instead wears a navy blue casual business suit and tie, which makes him more appealing to my eyes. And his hair was now clean-cut type. When he was already near me, my heart didn't stop beating so fast, not even a bit. I was just staring at him, at his gorgeous face and his pretty almond eyes.
Hi, how are you, Lineth? Congratulations on your graduation.
Thanks, I'm fine and happy, and thank you for this. I didn't forget to thank him for sending me a congratulatory note attached on Coke McFloat's cup. For me, it was rare and sweet. He chuckled.
You're welcome.
Now the time has come that I should be the one asking one important question. It's now or never. I was anxious about what I might hear, but I knew I had to ask this. So, Brother Hariel, or maybe should I address you Father Hariel? Now? Have you been ordained? Are you a priest now? God knew how I prayed for him to succeed in everything he does. I have hoped for him to achieve his dreams in life, but somehow, a big part of me was also wishing he wasn't ordained and he could be mine. He intentionally prolonged my anticipation of waiting for his answer so that it could have a bigger impact on me and my heart. Forever.
A priest? Supposedly I was to become one, but a year before my supposed ordination, I met this particular girl that has completely changed my mind, my heart, and even my soul. Forever.
Right after that, I just found myself shedding tears in pure joy and happiness. Hariel didn't become a priest, and he wanted me as much as I wished him to become my man. I couldn't find the right words to say. All I knew was that my joy caused me to be so emotional and that I embraced him so tightly. He giggled happily too, as his hands caressed my hair and back while he hugged me. For a year of not seeing him and no communication at all, I missed him so much. I remembered all the times I silently prayed to be locked in his arms. And now, I'm finally living my dreams. Hariel told me he realized that not all childhood dreams were meant to be coming true as man ages. He also confessed that when he met me, his thoughts, mind, and heart started feeling confused about what he wanted to do as he grew up. He had loved being involved in a missionary since he was a kid, but was that what he really wanted to do forever? No. From the moment he laid eyes on me, he started to be haunted by the wildest dreams of having a girlfriend, walking in the park with a hand to hold on to, starting a happy family, being a dad, and being a husband. I introduced him to my friends, and he sat beside me at our table. I even put my black graduation cap on his head, which he didn't mind at all, and instead happily went with it, too. I sipped on the cup of my favorite Coke McFloat while he enjoyed biting his favorite delicious McChicken sandwich. Time for pictorials, and I didn't let it pass that there could be a graduation picture that there wasn't Hariel in it. And so he gladly joined me. We have many good pictures together, but my favorite one was when he was hugging me from behind and putting his chin on my head while his free hand was holding his McChicken sandwich. I was happily looking at his eyes above my head while in my right hand, I was holding the tassel of the graduation cap he was still wearing in his head, and my other hand was holding the cup of Coke McFloat he gave me. It was a completely cute and sweet photo of Hariel and me. The crew even asked us for a copy of that photo to be put on their moment wall, where our beautiful love story was just one of the many magical stories that started here in
McDonald's.
the end.